Amy, followed by Mary Bruner of Carroll.
I'll beg your forgiveness. I have fibromyalgia, so I tend to misspeak a little bit because I don't have insurance to be able to cover for that. And everybody keeps saying, oh, we are backing preconditions and we want all of this to be taken care of, but yet you vote opposite of what you say you're going to do. And you just back just a little bit. And I had probably a good 6 or 7 questions that I wanted to ask, but at the same time, what's most important is you started talking about China just a little bit ago, about having to work with China. We have family farms that are going under. We have people bankrupt. We have southwest Iowa underwater. You know, they couldn't sell their corn that was sitting and their beans and all their, like I said, I can't talk today, seeds in their, you know, they had to put it in storage, washed away. They don't get money for that. And yet today, just this morning, we have President Trump saying, oh, we need to talk to Xi Jinping and have, you know, President Xi and have him investigate Joe Biden. How is that helping anybody? You know, we have him talking to the Russians. Oh, Mueller report, nobody read it except for the ones that actually wanted to read it because they wanted to know what was in it. We have him going after Ukraine. Oh, well, if you want weapons to protect from my buddy in Russia, then you're going to have to do what I want you to do and investigate Joe Biden. Now, this morning, we have him going, oh, well, we should, you know, he's going to be in the White House here in the next couple of weeks, and yet, you know, we're going to have, you know, he should investigate Joe Biden, too, because I'm sure there was some other stuff over there. And then we get conspiracy theories, and we get lies, and then we get everything else except for what we really need to know and what we really need him to do. And it just, where is the line? When are you guys going to say enough and stand up and say, you know what, I'm not backing any of this? Because we constantly have everybody, oh, well, it's not this, it's not that, or, you know, everything else. But yet you still stand there silent, and your silence is supporting him and not standing up. You yourself served. You didn't pledge an oath to the president. You pledged it to our country. You pledged it to our Constitution. When are you guys going to start standing up and actually be there for us?
Yeah, good question. So
I'm not a Democrat. I'm an independent. So I don't want you to think that
No,
I'm just some
no.
plant anti-Trump person.
I don't.
No,
No, Amy. Okay.
I know.
So just to address pre-existing conditions. So yes, I did vote to repeal the ACA, but I have supported other initiatives that do protect pre-existing conditions. So let's make that very clear. I know there's a lot of ads out there, and there was a lot of sloppy work by whoever's running all of these ads, who are probably not Iowans, just to remind everybody. So if you would go back and take a look during that debate, and primarily one that I really, really think would work is the bill and the work that I did with Susan Collins on, and which would protect folks with pre-existing conditions and cover those high costs of medical care for those that need it. So let me back up a little bit about the ads on pre-existing conditions. You know, everybody thinks that politicians, they're immune to all this, and they don't have the same issues that, you know, folks back in Iowa do. But both of my siblings are type 1 diabetics, and they have lived on insulin their entire lives. And it's not healthy for them. They've had some significant challenges. And folks, I have a nephew with autism. So I get it. I do get it, and I understand the challenges. And when my sister has to switch insulin because some government program says she has to switch insulin, you know, according to the ACA, we can't do this anymore. That impacts my family too. So, you know, I do understand the pre-existing conditions. So we have the ACA in place, but you said that your condition is not covered?
Has insurance through his work.
Okay.
But to cover me, that would take half his check.
Mm-hmm.
My children are covered by Hawkeye.
Okay.
I cannot be employed right now because I can't even talk to you without messing up my words. I have good days and I have really, really, really bad days. And most employers don't understand that. And we keep hearing about all these jobs, but they're minimum wage jobs that do not have insurance.
Okay, so with the,
He makes just
Yeah,
enough that are
and-
not covered by the state.
and so a state exchange option, and I'm just going to say it for you, is probably too expensive. Yeah, because I have dear friends of mine down in Montgomery County, small business owners. They were paying because of the ACA, and they, were looking at what are the options available to them. For them to go through the ACA, mom, dad, young son, $28,000 every year in premiums. They make just too much to qualify for government subsidies. But
Much
not
of
emo-
that has been repealed back and taken away.
Not nearly enough. I think we've got to find, so let me go back to the bill I had with Susan Collins and let me talk about it and just explain what that would do. So it creates an invisible high-risk pool, and the state of Maine was doing this before the ACA, and it was working, and the ACA outlawed it. But what the state of Maine was doing was something called an invisible high-risk pool. And with that invisible high-risk pool, then you would have folks like yourself that would be in that invisible high-risk pool. You wouldn't even know it. Well, you probably would if you have a pre-existing condition, you'd just assume. But you're paying the same as everybody else, regardless of condition. And once you hit a certain limit that the insurance company that was covering you, it would be a predetermined amount. Once you hit that limit, then you would roll over into that risk pool and would be covered by the state. Okay, so you wouldn't miss a beat. You'd still be covered by that insurer, and once the insurer got to that preset limit with the state, then the state picks up the rest of the tab. That way your condition is covered and no interruption to you. Okay, so that's what we were working on, but unfortunately we didn't get enough votes or enough support in the Senate to have that measure in place. But we still do have the ACA. So we still are going through issues. But I am also on a bill that covers pre-existing conditions with Tom Tillis as well. There's a number of other bills that exist out there. So if we are put to a point where the ACA is repealed and it is going through the judicial system right now, if that should ever happen, then we need to have our plans in place and ready to go and be ready for a full debate again. And I still think that invisible high-risk pool is a way to do it, to make sure everyone is covered, regardless of if they're a type 1 diabetic, if they have autism, if they have fibromyalgia. You would be covered. So I think that that's really important. I do support people with pre-existing conditions. I certainly wouldn't want to do that to my family members. I want to have a plan, and I think my plan would work,
If that gets repealed, then we have what, a year and a half, possibly more, because everything sits on Mitch's desk. What's going to happen?
No, they anticipate that potentially next year there would be a ruling on this. And so we have what we have already voted on, of course, but we also have our own little task force that we have a couple doctors in our Republican caucus. And all of the input that we have received from various doctors, hospital associations, and so forth. So all of that can be rolled together, and we go through the voting process again and determine what will work. But we need cooperation from the House as well. So all of us, again, regardless of party, we all need to be sitting down and working through this issue. Mm-hmm. Understood. Yeah, I don't want to leave folks in the lurch. Okay. Yep, thank you.
The second part, my actual question.
Okay, so President Trump, if I can say yay, nay, whatever, president is going to say what the president is going to do. It's up to us as members of Congress to continue working with our allies, making sure that we remain strong in the face of adversity. I mean, that's what we have to do, is continue to encourage those other countries. So that's what we will continue to do.
I beg your pardon, but all of our allies, he's pushing aside, he's He's making fun of them on Twitter. He calls
Well,
them
and
names.
ma'am,
And then we end up with, oh, we love people from North Korea, or we love Russia. But where, I mean, I understand it's a non-answer answer, and I understand. I get it. I know what you're saying. But
I can't
at
speak
some
for him.
point-
I'll just say that. I can't speak for him.
I know you can't speak for him, but you can speak for yourself.
And I do. And I have said this time and time again. North Korea, not our friend. Russia, not our friend. I have made that very, very clear, and the president knows where I stand on those issues.
What about whistleblowers?
And I've already said that too. Whistleblowers should be protected. I stand with Chuck Grassley on this. We have laws in place. Again, laws need to be enforced.
I understand, but we're not hearing it from our,
That's because our media is not covering those issues.
you have to say it for our media to cover it.
Yeah, whistleblowers should be protected. Thank you very much. Whistleblowers should be protected. Please let folks out there know.
And our president shouldn't be threatening them, and he also should not be encouraging other countries to investigate his political rivals.
I would say to that, corruption, no matter where it is, should be ferreted out. If we have corruption here, it should be ferreted out. If there's corruption in other countries, and I have traveled to Ukraine, and I haven't visited with the new president, but many years ago I had the opportunity to meet President Poroshenko. And one of the issues that I spoke to him about is the fact that in Ukraine there is still a large amount of corruption. And they have tried to deal with that corruption. They need to continue dealing with corruption. I don't care where it is. I don't care who it is, when it is. Corruption is corruption, and it should be combated.
So, but it's okay for our president to extort other countries to get that investigated.
Okay, we're going to move on to another question, but what I would say is we can't determine that yet. We have information that will be presented to the Senate Intelligence Committee, and they will call in the witnesses as necessary, and it'll be done in a bipartisan manner, in a fair process, and they will evaluate that. So, not jumping to any conclusions. We don't have the full story yet, but once we do, then we can make that determination. So we're going to go ahead and move to another person.